There's a big change to report to you tonight. History comes crashing down at an American institution. What they're saying tonight about the search for what caused the crash of TWA Flight 800. And the fight over when and where to meet face-to-face, closing in on a deal to debate.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News, reported by Brian Williams.
Good evening. We begin tonight with a sea change at an Atlantic Coast institution. It was founded back in 1839 when Martin Van Buren was president of the U.S. Its most famous graduate, George C. Marshall, is the only soldier ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize. From day one, the state-supported Virginia Military Institute only admitted males, but tonight, times are about to change. Our report from NBC's Andrea McCarran.
Secretary reports the vote is 9-8. The motion is carried.
Present home.
With that announcement, the Virginia Military Institute ended an era. It was a stunning defeat for the overwhelming number of VMI alumni who fought passionately to preserve the school's 157-year-old all-male tradition. Women will be admitted to VMI next fall.
There's no question the sentiment of the board, 100%, is that we would prefer for VMI to remain all-male and state-supported.
In June, the Supreme Court ruled that VMI's policy of excluding women was unconstitutional. The historic military college in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia was left with two options: become co-ed and keep its state funding, or go private and raise at least $200 million. Today's decision clears the way for women to join the male cadets on the notorious rat line, the orientation for first-year students. Older cadets torment the so-called rats in an exercise designed to unite them.
We must say that female cadets will be treated precisely as we treat male cadets.
The reaction of cadets ranged from resignation to disappointment.
It's an insult, and I feel it's a great insult to classes before me, and there will also be a great insult to classes after me.
We'll just make the best of it, like VMI men, adapt and overcome.
About 80 women have already expressed interest in attending VMI. Those who do can expect haircuts as short as their male counterparts. VMI officials say the changes to the facility will be minimal. Curtains will be put on windows and women will have their own showers. Administrators are not concerned about romance between cadets.
Rats don't have time to date anybody.
So the battle that began here at the Supreme Court 3 months ago has ended with VMI complying with the High Court's ruling. This is one fight that even VMI alumni couldn't win. Andrea McCarran, NBC News, Washington.
The change VMI faces next fall is the reality this year at the Citadel, South Carolina's state-supported military school. NBC's Frederica Whitfield tonight on how the change is going over.
They were treated like everybody else. The 4 women of the Citadel's class of 2000 were thrown into Hell Week, an unforgiving 7 days of soldiering. Early morning wake-up calls, rigorous physical training, and a visit to the military college barbershop. Close-cropped haircuts for all cadets, no exceptions. The custom didn't change when the all-male tradition here ended. And after initial concerns, upperclassmen are expressing confidence that the college's integrity will remain unshaken.
I believe the school is still very strong and still very rich in tradition. I think it'll stay that way.
Nearly a month into the semester, 55 male freshmen have dropped out for various reasons, but all 4 women are still enrolled.
It was odd for upperclassmen when they came back to see them, but in all reality, they just kind of faded away in the shadows.
As the 1,800 Citadel cadets march in this weekly campus parade, the female students are virtually invisible in a sea of gray uniforms. Administrators like it that way and have worked hard from day one to protect the women's privacy. Their dorm rooms lock, and they share a separate bathroom. Media access is heavily restricted. It's an about-face from what Shannon Faulkner experienced last year. The Citadel's very first female cadet needed a court order to gain admission, and cameras tried to follow her every move.
So I'm leaving.
She dropped out before Hell Week ended, saying the stress of being the only female cadet was too much. She's currently enrolled in Furman University as an education major. The Citadel is making this year's female freshmen feel more welcome.
What I want to do now is to make sure every cadet, and that includes women cadets, succeed, both in the military environment as well as in the academic classrooms.
Mid-semester exams are still weeks away. Historically, about 1 in 6 Citadel freshmen fail to finish their first year. Frederica Whitfield, NBC News.
We move now to the crash of TWA Flight 800. There was more late today on the latest theory on why there were explosive traces in the wreckage in the Atlantic off Long Island, New York. NBC's Robert Hager has been following this and joins us tonight. Bob?
Brian, officials tried to explain today, but it wasn't easy, why 9 weeks after the crash, they only now have discovered an innocent explanation for traces of explosives found in the wreckage. That the traces may have come from when explosive chemicals were put aboard the plane briefly in June for St. Louis Airport Police to train bomb-sniffing dogs. As recovery of wreckage continued today, the Federal Aviation Administration said there are 7,000 such dog exercises a year performed aboard idle planes between flights. The National Transportation Safety Board's Robert Francis.
Records are kept, but there's not a regular reporting requirement back to the FAA every time one of these takes place.
Important because when the traces were first found, one on some carpet tape in the passenger cabin, the other in the rear cargo hold, officials thought it could have been a thread of physical proof that terrorists had planted a bomb. But now it may be the explosive traces simply came from the dog exercise.
This is a methodical investigation. It's not from our point of view, a dramatic major thing. The investigation continues. It neither slows it down nor speeds it up. We go on.
And the FBI's James Kallstrom.
We don't know. We're not saying definitively now. Remember that is the chemical tracing that we found. We're just saying it could be.
But obviously without clear-cut traces of explosives tied to bombs, and with no piece of metal to indicate a bomb, and no sign of a hole blown by a missile, investigators are back to whether this was caused by a mechanical problem.
Is there a fair chance that we may never know the cause of the crash of Flight 800?
Is there a chance? Sure, there's a chance. But what's fair?
But with all but about 15% of the wreckage now recovered, the search for answers may be running out of time. By the way, there's no chance the explosive chemicals used in the dog exercise could have caused the crash. They were taken off the plane right after the exercise. Brian?
NBC's Robert Hager in Washington tonight. Thanks. When NBC Nightly News continues, Republicans and Democrats and presidential debates. When will they be? Day-long talks, it looks like, have resulted in a tentative deal. And later, in focus, how this necklace is keeping watch on women in danger.
MFS invented the mutual fund in 1924. By the time the Allies declared victory, we'd been helping investors march toward financial independence for 21 years. No wonder millions of investors make us an ally today. For more information, ask your financial advisor or call us, MFS. We invented the mutual fund.
You know what I hate? Pain. That's why I love Aspirin. When I get minor muscle aches, I just rub it in for fast relief that lasts for hours. And it's odor-free. Why live with pain? You're gonna love it. Aspirin does not contain aspirin.
Corporations are changing more than ever before. But no matter where people figure in your company's future, we'll have the furniture that configures to your people. Hayworth, furniture for what's next.
You know, heartburn medicines have been around for years. First came Tagamet, then Zantac, then Pepcid. But the newest, Axid, now in non-prescription strength as New Axid AR. The only one that says right on its labeling, for many, it can prevent heartburn completely. That's something 2 Tagamet HB, Zantac 75, and Pepcid AC just don't claim. New Axid AR. Proven it can prevent heartburn completely.
The debate over the presidential debates, who participates, how many, how long, when, and where, could end up being a bigger deal than the actual televised debates themselves. Today, there was an attempt to sort things out. Here's NBC's John Palmer.
The negotiators, Commerce Secretary Cantor for the Clinton campaign and former South Carolina Governor Campbell for Dole, began by disagreeing on just about everything, including whether Ross Perot should take part. At 1 o'clock, a pizza delivery, and still no agreement after 4 hours of tough negotiating. The Clinton side was spurred on by someone dressed as a chicken with a sign saying, "Stop clucking around and debate Bob Dole." By early evening, Clinton campaign officials said Cantor and Campbell had an agreement in principle.
The president said there has to be debate. You cannot allow these to go by the boards. They're in the best interest of the political process.
We have one-on-one debates with the President of the United States and Senator Dole, and that is what we wanted.
The plan, which officials said could still be modified, calls for 2 presidential debates and 1 vice presidential debate, all in October and each lasting 90 minutes, with no participation by Ross Perot or his running mate Pat Choate. Since the famous 1960 face-off between Kennedy and Nixon, debates have become a central part of American presidential campaigns.
Many Americans, at least, feel that we're supposed to watch the debates, that there's a civic expectation.
4 years ago, third-party candidate Ross Perot took part in the debates. This year, Perot was excluded, and he's challenging that in court.
And why should the fate of the country, the question of presidential debates and who gets to participate, rest in the hands of political pundits and pollsters and campaign operatives?
Meanwhile, both Clinton and Dole TV commercials are using the issue of teenage drug abuse to show the other in a negative light.
And in front of our children on MTV, the president himself.
If you had to do over again, would you inhale?
Sure, if I could. I tried before.
The Clinton campaign is countering with an attack on Dole's record.
But look at what he's done. Voted to cut the president's school anti-drug efforts by 50%, against creating the drug zone.
Teenage drug abuse is expected to be a continuing theme next week as Dole campaigns in the Midwest and in Florida, and the president looks for votes in the Northeast and in Texas. John Palmer, NBC News at the White House.
The campaign and Congress will be the topics tomorrow on NBC's Meet the Press. Presidential candidate Ross Perot, Democratic Party Chairman Christopher Dodd, and Republican House Leader Dick Armey are Tim Russert's guests. In Moscow, doctors tonight are discussing the best way to prepare for Boris Yeltsin's heart surgery. The Kremlin concedes that Yeltsin is very sick and needs bypass surgery. They will set a date next week. The concern now is, what are the possible complications? Embarrassment to report tonight for Colombian President Ernesto Samper. Hours before he was to fly to New York, 7 pounds of heroin were discovered aboard his Air Force jet. Colombia's justice minister says the packages were planted by political enemies. Samper is currently in disfavor with the U.S. government because he is suspected of having ties to drug traffickers. An alert tonight from our colleagues at our sister cable network MSNBC. A computer virus called Hari is scheduled to detonate tomorrow. If it is not detected, it can erase the entire contents of a computer hard drive. Internet users especially are urged to use antivirus software to protect themselves from it. When NBC Nightly News continues this Saturday evening, electronic guardians for people in danger.
Hi there.
Snack, crackle, pop, Kellogg's Rice Krispies.
If you can do this, you can make wood beautiful with Minwax. And if you can do this, you can give wood lasting protection. Turning a house into a beautiful home is as easy as turning to Minwax.
That was great.
Tell me about it.
It was different. It was so dark.
You found that exciting?
Incredible.
They finally did it in the dark. Milky Way dark. It's pure pleasure in the dark.
How's your job?
Great. There's still a lot of stress, though.
You still getting those headaches?
Yeah, I actually went to the doctor. I thought they might be migraines. He said they weren't. He told me to take Tylenol, extra strength.
Tylenol? Not some prescription.
The Tylenol works great, Dad.
More than aspirin, more than ibuprofen. For headaches, doctors recommend Tylenol the most.
You should have come to work for me, Julie.
Oh, sure. No stress there.
Dateline Sunday. Those rock-hard abs, they're yours for a price. But how well do these machines really work? Plus, Lucy's Secret Tapes. Dateline, your new choice on Sunday.
In focus this evening, providing better protection for victims of domestic violence. We are happy to report modern technology is playing a key role. Our report tonight from NBC's Betty Rollin.
For the past 18 months since their separation, Shanna Bozarth has lived in fear of her common-law husband.
He's punched me in the face. He's kicked me in the side of the face. He's threw lit cigarettes at me with my son sitting on my lap.
Shanna lives alone in New Jersey with her 2 small children. She's had an order of protection against this man, but should he approach her anyway, she now has a way of getting help quickly with this necklace alarm.
He's threatened me several times that I'm going to wake up and he's going to be standing there over top of me. And if, God forbid, that was to ever happen, all I have to do is push this,
which would set off a hidden transmitter in her house, which in turn alerts a switchboard like this one at ADT Security Systems, a private company that mostly monitors burglaries and fires. An operator notifies local police and at the same time provides vital information about the offender.
The monitoring screen will show his name, his physical description, any known weapons or drug abuse history, as well as prior arrest records.
ADT has donated the system to 84 cities and counties, and now monitors 500 pendants.
319.
In Nassau County, New York, the police run their own system. Their pendants and remote controls trigger a radio signal directly to headquarters that can be downlinked to the nearest patrol car. Originally designed as an alert for robberies in progress, the pendants are now issued by the police to people whose lives are in danger, mostly women.
I realize we're making, a concerted effort to try and assist them, where in some cases we can't possibly leave policemen at all these different scenes.
In California and in 12 other states, men wear the alarm system on their ankles. It's a variation of house arrest. One receiver monitors when the man leaves home. Should he approach the victim, another receiver, which she carries, sounds an alarm, alerting both her and the monitoring company. That company, Sentencing Concepts, alerts the police.
No individuals are probably going to have to be released anyway because of the jail overcrowding problem. It at least provides a safeguard that wouldn't otherwise be there.
Most of these men get the message.
There's absolutely no way you can go beyond your restrictions. They're notified immediately.
Most batterers are deterred by criminal consequences.
Psychologist David Adams has studied men who have murdered their wives and girlfriends and has asked them about electronic devices.
I've asked the killers that I've interviewed, would that have deterred you? And for some of them, they have said yes, that they would not have gone out knowing that the police would have been alerted.
Dr. Adams and other psychologists say that most men who hurt and threaten women are seeking control. Although these electronic devices will not deter all of these men, the devices can restore at least some control to women in danger.
I can sleep at night. I can be in my basement and do laundry and not worried about someone sneaking in my home and coming up behind me. And if they do, I know the cops will be here in a matter of minutes.
Betty Rollin, NBC News, Paulsboro, New Jersey.
When NBC Nightly News continues disturbing disclosures about death squads during South Africa's apartheid era.
He was so excited. He kept saying, "Can you see him? Can you see him?"
I didn't know hearing aids had gotten this tiny. Belltone's Invisa hides inside my ear.
Married 37 years, and now he hides things from
I'm
me.
hearing so many things I missed before. Invisa's incredible.
Invisa is as small around as a soft contact lens. So visit Belltone today, get a free hearing test, and save $200 on Invisa now.
He hears great, and he's as good looking as ever.
Belltone's Invisa. You've got to go see it to believe it.
Looking for something?
Yeah, that dime from Sprint's long distance plan.
Having trouble finding it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's because depending on when you call, the Sprint Cents rate isn't always a dime. It could be a quarter or 65 cents on calls to Canada.
Oh.
Try AT&T True Reach Savings. On average, most people can save more than with Sprint Cents when they spend $25 a month on calls in the U.S. Plus, you'll always save more on calls to Canada.
Wow, I found what I'm looking for.
That's your true choice, AT&T.
We've got Florence Vogue, Sergio Tacchini, we've got Persol, and more. Now they're all at LensCrafters. Hundreds of the latest sunglass styles from the hottest designers. As vision care experts, we'll fit every pair of sunglasses perfectly.
They feel great.
And we're LensCrafters. If you need a prescription, we can provide it in almost any pair in about an hour. And if I can help you to not only look good, but to see better, I mean, that's just one of the greatest feelings in the world.
LensCrafters, sunglass fashion from eyewear experts.
Now to details about the semi-secret killing campaign that white South Africans waged for more than 20 years to preserve the policy known as apartheid. A police official who committed murders is talking about his career as an assassin, and the nation is holding its breath. NBC's Ned Colt has our report.
South Africa's tabloids have dubbed the man in the dark glasses prime evil. Former police colonel Eugene de Kock admits he was a hitman during the days of white rule. For weeks, he's been testifying before a court in Pretoria. A jury has convicted him on 89 counts, 6 of them murder. Prior to sentencing, he's naming names, and the list reads like a who's who in apartheid South Africa. It includes P.W. Botha, South Africa's president for much of the 1980s, and his successor, F.W. de Klerk, who presided over the end of apartheid 2 years ago. According to de Kock, de Klerk ordered this raid in the Transkei in 1993, which left 5 teenagers dead. De Kock says his covert police hit squad carried out dozens of bombings, such as this one in 1989 at the South African Council of Churches. And de Kock says his unit encouraged the bloody conflict between the 2 largest black factions in the country. While uncorroborated, the charges have shaken South Africa.
There are a lot of very senior police officers who are going to have a lot of explaining to do in the weeks ahead.
Former President de Klerk insists leadership knew nothing of the hit squads, charging they were rogue units.
And this is clear from the de Kock trial, is that there were also definitely many unauthorized acts.
Donald Woods is a journalist who fled South Africa in 1977. He says the country's former leaders must take responsibility.
They knew what was going on. What I do not believe they did was to plan at the top level exactly what was to be done. But what I've always blamed them for was allowing their lower down security policemen far too much power.
De Kock's court case will conclude early next month. He then plans to speak before South Africa's Truth Commission, led by former Archbishop Desmond Tutu. The commission's goal is to uncover the truth about crimes committed during the apartheid era and to encourage reconciliation. Those who know de Kock say that's where he'll reveal all he knows about government-sponsored crime in hopes of receiving a pardon. Ned Colt, NBC News.
There's been a new development in that bizarre espionage drama that's unfolding on the Korean Peninsula. 2 of the North Korean commandos who infiltrated the South by submarine shot and killed a South Korean soldier today. It happened near the reef where the North Korean sub ran aground early Wednesday. Thousands of South Korean troops have been searching for the commandos. 7 are believed still at large there. When NBC Nightly News continues in a moment, the rekindling of a love affair. Has all been forgiven?
When gas pain and bloating make me feel like this, I take a little pill that looks like this.
Extra strength Gas-X soft gels. As much gas-fighting medicine as this much Mylanta. Concentrated in an easy-to-swallow soft gel for powerful relief that gets to your gas pain fast.
So I feel like me again.
Now get easy-to-swallow gas pain relief in extra strength Gas-X soft gels. Also available in great-tasting chewable tablets.
It's a great time to be silver because you're over 50 and you haven't lost your edge. Now there's a Centrum made just for you. Centrum Silver for your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
Only Brawny paper towels have thirst pockets. Amazing pockets that make even the biggest, messiest spills disappear. Because every thirst pocket is made of 2 thirsty plies, and every sheet is covered end to end with them. Brawny with thirst pockets. Now the only real mess you can get yourself into is not having any in the house.
Brawny, thirst pocket power.
MFS invented the mutual fund in 1924. By the time the Allies declared victory, we'd been helping investors march toward financial independence for 21 years. No wonder millions of investors make us an ally today. For more information, ask your financial advisor or call us. MFS. We invented the mutual fund.
Sunday, Yale's campaign school, teaching women how to get elected, and hormones, steroids, whatever. Some men think they've found the fountain of youth, but have they really? You decide. Sunday on Today.
Finally tonight, there are increasing signs that baseball is back, and if so, it is an extraordinary story of survival. After all the fans have been through, the strikes, the disappointments, the salaries larger than the GNP of a small nation. But you wouldn't know all that by looking at the stands this season. Here's NBC's Stan Bernard.
Autumn in America means the pennant and the World Series. There are some signs that baseball fans are coming back to the game, forgiving the players and the owners for the strike of '94.
Oh, I feel elated. Hey, you know I'm elated, right? Baseball's back.
Delighted to see players who do things the rest of us only dream about. Anyone who played catch might say, I could be these guys. And as we approach the playoffs with more than a dozen teams in the chase to get into the World Series, more people want to see these guys. When the strike hit in 1994, each game was averaging more than 31,000 fans. In 1995, attendance dropped by 20%. This year, there has been an increase of 6%. And if it holds up, it could be the 5th highest attendance year ever.
It's just a great game with great characters, and you know, people aren't thinking about the strike. They're thinking about the playoffs coming up and that extra tier of playoffs with a wild card. People like it. It's a great game.
And it's been a year of heroic stories. Roger Clemens again striking out 20 in one game. An import from Japan, Dodger pitcher Hideo Nomo throwing a no-hitter. And Paul Molitor in his 19th year in the majors, joining the select 3,000 hit club.
Myers, the ball drops. Molitor has his 3,000th hit, and he's chugging for third. And he's in with a triple.
And this year, a hailstorm of home runs and high-scoring ball games.
America without baseball, I mean, geez, it was a nightmare. I love going, the summer's nothing without baseball.
In the midst of playoff and pennant excitement, there is the shadow of another Major League labor negotiation and a strike possibility for next season. Baseball fans are trying to ignore that nightmare, for now they are staying with the current pennant and World Series dream. Stan Bernard, NBC News, New York.
As we round the turn toward home, that is nightly news for this Saturday evening. Ann Curry will be here tomorrow night.